Hi-ho, Tudor-minded people. It's Philadelphia Carrie for Tudor Time Machine. The word I share with you this week is Puissant. Dear Tudor files, a most extraordinary delegation has come to Whitehall. A flock of winter snow fairies with their queen. Well, she is not a queen, she is a princess. But yet she is lofty. They have come across land and sea, all to be in the orbit of my most puissant and mighty lady, Queen Elizabeth. Now, this princess's name is Cecilia Vasa, and she has travelled all the way from icy Sweden. She came across her native land in a sled. Alloo! Can you think of such a thing? She is accompanied by an entourage of servants and maids of honour whose names are good English names made over with a Swedish twist. Brigitta, Elisabetta, Elin, Anna, and not one but two Christinas. It is up to my Jane to tell one from another, for I simply cannot bother. They made a fine entry into London, and have set the court talking of nothing but themselves. The Princess Cecilia wears a cunning little crown of gold upon her flaxen hair. She speaks English so elegantly and with such fluency, my mistress the Queen is quite astonished. The princess's ladies dress in black velvet and cloth of gold. They disport themselves with the most outlandish instrument, the nickel harper, which has strings and keys, and is played with a bow and the fingers. It is quite astonishing to watch it being played, though it puts me in a whirl, and I think it not quite like a gentlewoman to play such a thing. But yet these ladies-in-waiting are delightful, and though they do not speak our language with the ease that their princess does, these Swedish gentlewomen laugh and smile so cunningly. To tell true, some of my fellow ladies-in-waiting consider them a mickle too charming, and have fallen into a drumble at their being here. They whisper, hug-a-mother, that these Swedes are a troop of dissembling, jangling baggage who have come to bedazzle the gentlemen of Whitehall. If I were a less generous lady, I too might find myself jealous, but there is no need. I am of a high rank. I avouch I too am puissant. I have my charms and talents, and what's more, I am English. These ice fairies do grace London for a short time, and thus they shall melt away, leaving only a winter's tale. They are but here for a blink of the eye to pay homage to her puissant majesty, as visitors from all nations ought to.
Puissant. How now, Tudor Files? What think you? If you're new here, I'm Gage.
I'm Jessica.
And we're here with Philadelphia Carrie for Tudor Word of the Week.
Don't miss a word, and listen to the Tudor Time Machine Story Project. So diverting. And I have heard that the Princess Cecilia plays a part in the tale. And I do bid you, pray tell a ningle, and ring the little YouTube bell like a Swedish chime. Chime, 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 chime.
Tudor Files, thank you for listening. Every one of you has the wit of Rosalind and the heart of Cordelia.
And don't be shy about writing to Philadelphia on YouTube and suggesting words, because we love hearing from listeners.
So how do you spell our Tudor Word of the Week, Philadelphia?
It is originally from the French, and it is spelled Puissant, puissant, or if you like to put a French on it, puissant.
And in the Tudor period, it meant mighty and strong.
A person of great influence, a powerhouse. Shakespeare actually uses this word at least a dozen times in his canon.
But our use of the word comes from an account of the journey to England that Princess Cecilia Vasa took in about 1564, 1565.
Indeed, this account was dictated by the princess herself and set down by Master James Bell. The dedication goes thus: To the most high, mighty, virtuous and puissant Prince Elizabeth, with the wonderful affection of your new guest, the Honourable Princess, towards your grace, this account of the perilous journey to England of that same princess to your highness is dedicated.
And have you read it?
Oh, yes, all my fellows and I have. It tells how Princess Cecilia became enamored of all things English from reports that came to her at the Swedish court, how her one desire in life was to see our English Majesty for herself, how she learned our language and begged to be allowed to travel to England.
Which was an incredibly long journey.
Of course, it was not a flight at that time. You had to do it by land and sea. And in fact, it took Cecilia almost a full year to reach England.
First, she went across Sweden and Denmark, and then through the Netherlands, and then she went across the Channel from Brussels.
In the account of her journey, the princess says that the only thing that roused her and kept her struggling on through the snow and hostile territory and the wild ocean was the thought of meeting my queen. That is the power of my queen's puissant majesty.
Well, not to take anything away from Elizabeth, but that sounds a little bit suspect.
Yeah, that's taking fangirldom pretty far. And from what we've read, Cecilia had some trouble at court. She was having affairs with a lot of men, and she was getting into trouble, and her father and her brothers were like, maybe we'll pack her off for a little while.
The Vasas were a very powerful family at the time. Cecilia's father, Gustav, was a contemporary of Henry VIII, and like Henry, he broke with the Catholic Church and became very rich from the dissolution of the Swedish monastic houses. He also married 3 times, but unlike Henry, he did not have any of his wives executed, and his son Eric took the throne in 1560.
The other thing, which is kind of remarkable, is that Cecilia had just gotten married to a lesser Germanic noble. She claimed that she said to her prospective husband, "I will marry you if you take me to England," and also got pregnant in the middle of the journey and arrived in England and had a baby 2 weeks later. And there was also speculation that Cecilia was coming as an emissary from her brother, King Eric, to try to get Elizabeth to marry him. Of course, this was the time that Elizabeth was super on the marriage market and playing around with a lot of different possibilities.
I don't think Eric was ever extremely high in those possibilities, but I'm sure she said, "Oh, yeah, it sounds great," because that's what she always said.
My queen might toy with this King Eric, but she would never marry him. It is said that he keeps a bevy of women in attendance, but commoners. His main mistress is a woman named Karen Mansdaughter. She is the daughter of a soldier and a peasant. She is not puissant at all.
Well, if you take a little jaunt in your time machine, Philadelphia, you will find out that Eric married Karen Mansdaughter and made her his queen.
I do not believe it. The people of Sweden would not permit it.
It's true.
Oh, madness indeed. Thank goodness all the Swedes returned to their native country.
I don't know if all the Swedes returned to their native country. I think actually one of them stayed and married an Englishman.
No.
Also, Princess Cecilia ended up staying in England long past the time she was welcome. She ran up debts and basically became the nightmare guest for Elizabeth. She also got involved in the politics of the court. She made friends with the Spanish ambassador, and through him made contact with Elizabeth's puissant enemy, King Philip of Spain.
Oh, no, 'tis terrible.
It's true. She was quite an operator, our Cecilia.
But to behave thus after all her claims to hold my puissant mistress in such high regard, 'tis a pity indeed. Oh, take heed, Tudorphiles. Add some 16th century sauce to your vocabulary with puissant. Listen in next time, don't miss a word, and subscribe on YouTube. Help Tudor Time Machine become a huge presence on the web. Don't forget, give me a like.